She's a senior economist at the World Bank Group with a background in labor, economics, poverty, and gender. The title of her talk is Active Learning, Building and Aging. And an overview, she just completed a big evaluation study looking at this across many different countries. She's been at the Independent Evaluation Group at the World Bank since 2012 and recently completed a citizen engagement evaluation. And like I mentioned, she's leading this evaluation at the World Bank to support aging countries, especially addressing gender gaps in fragile, conflict and violence affected countries. And we are very, very excited to have her share her perspective on active aging and how learning, especially learning with technology, plays such a crucial role in that. So welcome, Elena.
Good morning, good afternoon, perhaps, or evening, everybody. So thank you so much for providing this opportunity to me. Let's see if I can share my screen. By the way, it would be embarrassing not to in this type of setting. In particular, here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it works, Elena.
Great. So thank you so much for providing this opportunity. I'm actually quite excited to be here today and you know, give a little bit of context and background. I'm an economist. Economist talks about, you know, big things and facts and numbers. So I will be sharing with you some studies that I ran into while I was doing this evaluation for about, you know, what type of support the World Bank can provide to countries that are aging. And in particular, on a gender perspective, so taking the aspect of why aging could be particularly problematic for women, but could be also a great opportunities, and how active learning and technology can actually help address some of these challenges. So at the end of this this talk, I hope to leave you with this takeaway. Essentially, in this aging world, women need to aim at having they have longer lives, but these lives need to be healthier, more active, and more productive. And this is going to be for their own sake and also for the well-being of the society they live in. And lifelong learning and technology can actually support strongly this goal. So one striking fact is that the world is aging at a very, very fast speed. We might not have thought about it. Actually, I didn't think about it before starting this research. But right now, for example, the share of the population that is 65 and plus is 9%. That's the whole world. In 30 years, this will be 16%, so much, much larger. And in Europe and in Northern America, which are the countries that are aging, that are more advanced in this process, 25% of the population will be aged 65 and plus. And obviously the reasons are under our eyes is because there is a drop in fertility when countries are more prosperous, and there is an increase in life expectancy due to the improvement in health. I'll show you this map, which uses a slightly different definition of aging, but the point is the same. You see the orange countries, North America, Canada, the United States, Australia, Europe, and Japan are the countries that are the oldest right now, but countries that are faster coming up, Russia, China, Brazil, even countries that you might not have guessed they're aging, like Vietnam or Thailand or Sri Lanka or Tunisia, Morocco. Only in Africa, there is the opposite problem of very high fertility right now in sub-Saharan Africa, but this will be rapidly changing there too. Of course, we are happy that people are living longer. Why not to be happy? But there is a problem. If this aging is not active aging, meaning if this aging is not healthier, is not more productive, then we have a problem, because all the systems are going to suffer. Of course, the health system, the care system, the productive system, the budget, the national budget, but in particular the individuals themselves and their household and the communities they live in. So I'll show you what I mean here. If you see, this is the profile of earnings, the dotted line, and consumption, the solid blue line. You see that people during their lives, that's the x-axis, they earn mostly in their prime age, between 30 and 60, let's say. But the consumption, of course, happens all throughout their life. And you see immediately that at the end of life, there is a problem. If the consumption is going to be higher than the earnings, so it relies on savings, it relies on pension, it relies on transfer from the government or from other people, unpaid transfer, like from care from women, and the earnings are rapidly dropping. So what we want is to make sure that the productive segment of their life is as long as possible in order to support this extra longer lives that people are going to be. So definitely there is a productivity argument there that can be made. If we think about it, there is also a very important gender element to aging. And the reason is because women live longer, almost everywhere in the world, I would say everywhere in the world. However, they spend more years in bad health. And this is one of those indications that I was saying before, these extra years need to be healthier years in order for everybody to be happy and healthier. This is a graph to show you this point that is, these are European countries. I was able to find this for Europe, but you get the point because it's quite similar across. This is the life expectancy at age 65, how many extra years one can hope to live, provided they reach 65. You see the numbers for women on the left and the numbers for men on the right hand side. And you see everywhere women live longer, but you also see, that's the lighter portion of the histogram, that many of these extra years are spent in bad health. And this is clearly a problematic thing. France, for example, that's a top country. Women can hope to live 24 extra years when they are 65, 4 years more than men. But you see that the segment that is slightly colored is larger for women. You might guess, you might say, better to be alive than dead, but still you don't want to be in bad health either. There are other problems that women face. They tend to earn less throughout their lives. So they spend more time in part-time, out of the labor market, in bad occupation, so they save less, they contribute less to pensions. Plus, they are also typically expected to provide unpaid care to children and to adults, to sick people. And this happens throughout their life when they are in prime age, but also when they are older. And of course, you haven't missed, I believe, what happens with COVID. COVID has really exposed these fragilities and has amplified these gaps. So you saw how women had to withdraw from the labor market, either because they were losing jobs or because they had to take care of the kids. So what is important in an aging world? These are economic macro elements, and mostly productive financial elements that are important to think about in order to ensure higher gender equality also in older age. We want to try reforms that help close the gender pension gap. We want to retain women in the labor force. We want them to continue working, and therefore we need to address care needs, finding ways of supporting the care of needs and elderly without requesting women to stop working or work part-time. And we needed to favor, careers, moving women to better jobs, to higher jobs, in order for them to earn more and close the wage gap as well. So how is lifelong learning entering the picture? Lifelong learning can support what the World Health Organization indicated active aging, meaning aspect of health, participation, and security, not only productive elements. Women can, through lifelong learning, they can re-enter the labor market, they can increase the productivity. This can help narrow the gender gap and improve the quality of life. Let me show you what I mean more specifically. I refer, for example, at the relationship between lifelong learning and productivity here. There are a lot of studies that look at who gets training during their working life. Lifelong learning is this concept that, individuals keep learning, keep accessing learning opportunities during their whole life and not just in the beginning of life. And the European Union has a target, 15% for 2020. It's not very high, but actually less people than that receive training on the workplace. Women slightly more than men, but the aspect that is a little bit disappointing is that women don't receive as much work-related training than men. Employers seems to be more willing to finance training for men than for women, or for higher position individual who tends to be men than for women. And yet this is important because technology is rapidly changing the workplace. So technology is both a mean and a goal. We need to learn technology because this is going to be part of what the workplace is about, but also because this helps access other types of training. Moreover, there is this move from traditional employment, from the contractual perspective, to the gig economy, where people are going to be more and more self-employed, I mean, employer of themselves, if you want. And so they need to personalize the training, they need to be proactive about their training, because not necessarily this is going to be provided by the employer. It's interesting that there is not a lot of study about lifelong learning and productivity of elderly as much as of older workers. There is a lot, though, in terms of the relationship between lifelong learning and health. And it's interesting how many positive benefits have been documented about this relationship, on the association between learning and learning technology, on psychological well-being, on delaying cognitive decline. I've seen studies very interesting that bring together, for example, elderly people to eat together. This is a study that was done in Scandinavian countries, where three friends connect through technology and eat together. And this is helpful not only for socialization, we know how sharing a meal is important, but also for ensuring that these elderly people eat. So they eat more when they eat together. So this is absolutely important, to the point that there is even a branch that is called gerotechnology, providing solution to older population. For example, for the provision of care, not only for the elderly, not only the e-health, let's say, knowing about the health solution, etc., but also for alleviating the burden of the carers, of the people that care for these people. It's a quite interesting field, I would say, and this also explains why there are so many different providers of training, not only therefore the employers, but also, the government, the universities, the NGOs, the libraries, the local governments. So it's really an area where the incentive to access training and to provide training are so diverse, and this explains how rich this area is. So that's about, I hope I convinced you about, how it is important, especially for women, because they are the ones that have more to lose.